Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Zack, you wanted to buy rental properties, but you didn't really have a lot of money. How did you do it?
Yeah, so I really wanted to start investing, and I decided that I really needed to just come up with additional streams of income so that I could do that.
And that's exactly what he did. Zack figured out 4 ways to make some extra money. He puts that money aside, and when he has enough saved up, he'll buy a rental property. On the show today, Zack is going to share with us exactly what his 4 streams of income are and how much he's making from each of them. Joining us on the show today from Atlanta is Zack Bobo. We'll take a real quick break. We'll come right back, and we'll talk to Zack. The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified, and I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Zack, let's kick things off talking about your rental portfolio. What does your rental portfolio look like?
So I've got a total of 13 properties consisting of 15 units.
Okay, and how long have you been working at this for?
Well, I bought my first one in 2011 when I graduated high school, but I really didn't kick things off and get aggressive until 2015.
Awesome. So what's your goal with your rentals? Like, what are you trying to accomplish long term?
So first and foremost, I try to provide clean, safe, affordable homes for people. I love helping people out. But then on the monetary side of things, I would love to retire early for me and my family.
So you want to have enough rental income that it's going to pay all your bills, and then you don't need to have a job. You can still work and still make money if you want to, but you don't need to go to work every day.
Absolutely. The goal is I'd love to have about $15,000 to $20,000 a month passive income. And
where are you right now? What's your cash flow look like?
So right now I bring in a gross total of $10,705 a month, and after expenses and things like that, I net $4,053 a month.
All right, let's break this down a little bit. Okay, so you're at your net after everything is about $4,000 a month, and
Correct.
You want to get that up to $15,000 a month.
Yep.
So if we just do some real simple math here, so $4,000 a month, and you said you have 15 rentals.
15 total units.
15. Okay, so if we divide 4,000 by 15. We get 266. So on average, I'm sure you've got some properties that do better, some that do worse, but on average, each rental makes you about 266 a month after everything. Does that sound about right? Okay. So to get to 15,000, if you're making 266 a door, that would mean you need to get 56 rentals. So you're at 15 right now. So we need to add 41 rentals to your portfolio. I hope I didn't lose anybody there, but but so basically 56 rentals at 266 a door is what Zack needs to get to 15,000. Does that seem overwhelming to you to add 41 properties, or do you feel like you're on a trajectory where that seems obtainable?
You know, I think I'm on the right path. Majority of my stuff is single family. I've got a couple duplexes, but my goal is I'd love to get into multifamily, larger multifamily, maybe some mobile home parks and things like that.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about how you got to where you are, because I think where you want to go is awesome, but I think there's a lot we can learn on how you got to where you are today. So tell me, like, how did you get there? Like, how did you get the money to get to where you are today?
Well, as we mentioned, with my day job, I figured out real quick that, it was enough to cover the bills and my household expenses, but I figured out I had to come up with other streams of income. So I came up with basically 4 side hustles that that bring in additional cash for me.
Okay, so you're able to pay the bills and with your day job. Does your wife work?
She doesn't. She's a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. So it's all on you that if you wanted to invest, you needed to come up with the money to do it, and you started doing some side hustles to make some extra money.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, let's go through exactly what you did here. So tell me, what's your first side hustle?
So my first side hustle was a house hack. Basically what I did, I've got a 4,000 square foot home with a basement that we never used. So I decided to turn it into a little sort of an in-law suite, and I rent that out every month.
Awesome. Now, a lot of people might think, because you've got young kids, a lot of people might think, I've got kids, I can't do a house hack, but you figured out a way to do it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, that was something I had to work with the wife on. But what we wound up doing is we found a family friend that, a single lady that just needed a place to stay. She is an awesome tenant, great person. And, she's been with me for 3 years now. So,
and how much money do you make each month off renting out the basement?
$730 a month.
Wow. Okay. And does that cover a good part of your mortgage?
Yeah, a little more than half my mortgage.
Wow. Okay. So now your mortgage is cut in half, and I guess having a cheaper mortgage, does that enable you to save money from your job, or is that just making it so that it's easier to live the lifestyle that you live?
It really just allows the lifestyle.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So you've got an extra $9,000 a year. Is it a lot of work or a lot of hassle, a lot of aggravation?
Little to no work, honestly. Like I said, the tenant is absolutely phenomenal. And, problems come up here and there, little things that need to be fixed, but that's just your typical maintenance, just like any other rental. So.
Okay, great. All right. So that's not really adding to your bottom line, but it's, I think that's a cool thing that you're doing. And it's definitely taking the pressure off, because I'm sure things would be a lot tighter around your house if you didn't have that money. So then as far as actually generating some cash to invest, what's the second side hustle you're doing?
So with all the properties I've been acquiring over the years, I've always used a realtor, and I was back and forth on doing this, but I decided to get my real estate license.
Okay. And so you're helping people buy and sell houses.
That's correct. And invest. I work a lot with investors as well.
Now, how do you have time for that? I mean, you've got a wife, you've got kids, you've got a job. How do you have time to be, because I'm assuming this is mainly nights and weekends that you're working with clients?
Exactly right. And, that's how real estate works as far as the sales side go. Everybody wants to see houses or have appointments later afternoon when they get off work or the weekend. So it actually works perfectly.
Do you feel like it's a major sacrifice, or is it just something you love doing?
So I do love it, but at the same time, it is a sacrifice, but it's to get me where I want to go.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're
totally
focused on that goal. How much did you make last year selling houses?
I made right at $96,000. And that was my first year in real estate. Yeah.
First year, $96,000. How many hours, like say in your typical month, how many hours were you working to make that?
Honestly, probably 20 to 25 hours.
Wow. Okay. But for $96,000, that is really incredible.
Totally worth it.
And so when you get that money, you get those commission checks every time you sell a house. What are you doing with that money? Because I think for a lot of people, probably for me too, if I saw those checks coming in, I'm going to probably be tempted to step up my lifestyle a little bit. But you're focused on building out your rental portfolio. How do you stop yourself from not buying a new car or just spending it on Amazon?
Well, it's really tough. It really is. But I truly believe it's a mindset thing. I'm a big believer in the Dave Ramsey plan. No consumer debt, live below your means. And that's what we try to do. Okay.
So you just put that all away. Do you put it in a separate account?
I do. I created an LLC for my real estate sales. So it's just another account that I just kind of stash the money away and then set back. Of course, I set money back for taxes, but.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's a great side hustle. So now you've got $96,000 a year before taxes. So after taxes, maybe you got 70 grand or something.
Right.
And so that's money that you can put into buying rentals. So that is really awesome. And so then you're also doing two more side hustles. What's your next one?
So my third is flipping. I've last year I flipped 2 houses. This year I'm working on my third.
Wow, congratulations. And is that a lot of work? Like I'm just trying to picture you've got you're working with clients, you've got your family. How do you have time to flip houses?
Well, really with the flips, so the first 2 that I did last year was kind of a learning process, but now that I've got the systems in place and people to go out, I'm almost just kind of look at it as a project manager. You know, I go out, I coordinate, set it up, pay the guys, and it's done.
So it doesn't really take that much time.
It really doesn't.
Perfect. And how much do you make, like, say, on your average flip? What's your average profit?
So last year I did 2, and on average, I'd say between the 2, I made about 20,000 a piece. So brought in about another 40,000 last year before taxes.
Wow. Okay. So now before taxes, you're at 140, which is a lot of money. Great. Oh, so then what's your fourth and final side hustle?
So my fourth and final is going back to that rental portfolio we talked about earlier. I've just, like I said, since 2015, I've been slowly growing it. And, with the cash flow from it, that's about another $48,000 a year.
Okay. So, all right. So now between your real estate license, flipping houses, and the just reinvesting your cash flow, you've got about $200,000
Correct.
every year before taxes. So then what do you do with that money? So I mean, you pay taxes, maybe you've got 150 set aside. Are you buying rentals with cash with that money, or is that money that you're using for down payments?
I am. So I've recently started, now that I have more cash flow and money saved, I've started trying to buy with cash. But obviously interest rates are so low right now. I'm kind of going back and forth between, maybe the next one getting a loan.
Do you ever think about quitting your job? I mean, it seems like you're doing so well with these side hustles. I feel like if you went full time with either being a realtor or flipping houses, or maybe even both, instead of making 150 on the side, you might be able to make 400,000 if you gave it your full attention. Does that ever cross your mind?
Dan, that's the $1 million question that people ask me all the time. And honestly, it comes down to the fact, I've got a young family. I've got my third child on the way, and we're doing well for sure. But it's just that job security, that paycheck every 2 weeks, that family insurance. That's been the biggest factor. Yeah. But no, I agree 100%. And I think by the end of this year, I probably will leave the day job.
But for now, I mean, you've got an extra $150,000 to invest. And I love that you figured that out and you're putting in the work to make it happen. I mean, so many people, I think, are working jobs where they don't have a lot of extra money at the end of the month. And you were in that position, but you just figured out another way to make the money. And it's going to require some work, but I think you're going to be really happy with where you're at.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I like to think that I'm on the right path.
You sure are. That is really awesome. All right, so let's talk about your rental portfolio. Tell me about your rentals. Like, what kind of properties are you buying?
I would say I would consider it a C-class property, all in the city limits of the town I live in.
Okay, so is it C-class in that, a lot of times when people say C-class, they mean the neighborhood isn't the greatest neighborhood or the properties are older. Like, what does C-class mean to you?
So C-class to me is just lower income.
Okay.
It's $1,000 and under a month, basically.
Okay. And it sounds like you keep the properties because you said having clean, safe, affordable housing is really important to you. So do you fix the properties up when you buy them?
I do. Usually we'll go in and we'll do a light remodel if it needs it. I have bought properties with existing tenants. First things first, I go in, meet the tenants, talk to them, and anything that they've had problems with maybe a tired landlord before, I'll go in and address those concerns.
That's good. So it sounds like you're building relationships with your tenants.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, I think the biggest thing with rentals, you hear horror stories about people not paying and the eviction process. But the way I see it is you've got to respect your tenants and they've got to respect you. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a mutual agreement that you take care of them. They're going to pay you every month.
I think that's the right attitude to have. I bet you have pretty low turnover treating people like that.
My longest held property is the one I bought 2011. And since then, everything I've bought since, I've not had one person move out.
That's incredible. Do you raise rent?
I've never had a missed payment either.
Never missed. Okay. And then what are you doing with rent? Do you raise rent occasionally, or are you holding rent where they're at?
Yeah, I'll go up. So I try to follow property taxes. Like when property taxes raise, like last year they were raised in my county. So I did go up on rent, but I'm still below market value by, I'd say, maybe $100.
Now let's talk about one of your properties just to get a better understanding. Maybe can we talk about one of your recent deals? Maybe like the last house you bought.
Yeah. So last week I bought one of those mobile homes. It was a 1,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath mobile home on 2 acres. I picked it up for $60,000. I had to put about $10,000 into it, and it rents for $950 a month.
Okay, so you're a little bit better than the 1% rule. That's
absolutely,
that's great. Do you have someone in there yet?
So we're wrapping up. I just closed on it last week. They are wrapping up the work, and the heating and air system's going in this weekend. But I do have a lease signed already.
Now, what's really, I think, kind of cool with the math that we did at the beginning of the show, if you're going to be buying rentals with cash, which you can easily do with the kind of money you're making on your side hustles, you're going to need way less than 41 rentals buying it with cash. So I think that you are on a really, really good path. I'm really, really happy for you, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish with your portfolio.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's exciting. It's kind of a thrill, to find the next deal and keep growing. So,
yeah. Does being an agent help you? Like just having access to the MLS and working with clients?
I like to think it really does, because ever since, I got my license last year, but it seems like ever since I got my license, now I am known around town as the real estate guy. So if somebody has somebody, not only from the sales perspective of listing and buying, but if somebody has a property or rental properties, they always come to me, or they come to me and they're just like, hey, would you be interested in buying this? So it kind of gives me that first look before they even go on the market.
That's great. Well, if anybody is interested in investing in Atlanta, I would definitely recommend reaching out to Zack. I think he'd be a really great resource for you. I've got his contact information on the website. You can look it up at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 284. If Zack inspired you and you're ready to buy your first rental, or you want to add to your portfolio, the lender that I recommend is Shaylee Ridge. What I love about Shaylee is that she's actually an investor herself. She's been doing loans for years. She only works with investors. This is what she does all day, every day. And she has a ton of different loan programs that she can get you in. She can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or set up a time to talk to Shaylee, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com. If you mention Rental Income Podcast, she will waive all the pre-qualification fees. NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe. We put out new interviews every single Tuesday, and if you subscribe, you'll get notified as soon as they come out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.